example we're going to discuss is we're going to talk to a Trump supporter, a business Trump supporter that was doing business, and how that is then being impacted the bee business, which is their business when it comes to bees, right? So we're talking about bees right now, and we're going to get into that and how that's impacting them.
We want to have as many bees as we can to make honey.
At Secret Garden Bees, a honey farm in Linden, North Carolina, farmer Jim Hartman has one eye on his bees and the other on his bank account.
Ideally, we'll get 100 pounds of honey per hive per year.
How do you feel about paying more for things?
Well, you know, if you find someone who says, I'm happy about paying more for something, you point them out to me. People who already couldn't afford fresh vegetables, who couldn't already afford to put good food on their plate, are the ones that are really going to be hurt by this.
Did you ever think when you voted for President Trump that things were going to cost you more and you were going to lose money?
I never thought I was going to lose this much money, this fast.
Jim is a Republican who voted for Donald Trump 3 times.
How do you feel about your vote for Donald Trump now?
Well, I feel like perhaps I should have considered some other options.
Among other things, Jim imports packaging supplies for his honey, so he's paying real close attention to the tariffs Trump just put in place.
We just bought our year's supply of bottles from Taiwan and our year's supply of corks from Portugal about 3 weeks ago. So that would have been, another $5,000 or $6,000 out of my pocket.
Which is partly why he's repairing instead of replacing this 40-year-old forklift.
The cost of equipment has just gone through the roof to buy anything like that because it just would be cost prohibitive.
He's also holding off on improvements around the farm.
Well, we're not going to hire any more people, that's for sure.
It's more than just the tariffs. For the past 2 years, Jim has been selling honey to the federal government, which then provides it to schools and food banks. But after Donald Trump took office, the USDA cut those programs suddenly as part of the federal government's effort to streamline spending.
For a lot of other local farmers around here, it was a major source of reliable revenue. For me, it's going to cost me around $150,000 a year.
$150,000.
Yeah, roughly 50% of my revenue.
That's a huge hit.
That's a massive hit.
Not far from.
So let's get into a couple of things, right? So first thing, this gentleman is a business owner within the United States, right? And it looks like he's a beekeeper as well as he sells honey, with the bees. And that is his business, right? So he voted for Trump 3 times on all 3 occasions. He's a Trump supporter. From that perspective, it's important because then when he talks about his business and how it's being impacted with the current situation, you got to take that as what he's saying is true, right? He didn't expect for his business to be impacted this negatively, this quickly. He didn't expect it. And I think that is actually a consistent sentiment with a lot of people that voted for Trump, right? And I'm not here to agree or disagree when it comes to who you voted for or not. That's not the discussion that we're having, because I voted for who I voted for too. And, in another conversation, we can talk about who I voted for. But this gentleman has a business within the United States that is being negatively impacted by the tariffs that Trump has put on, and how Elon Musk and Doge and the efficiency program has impacted him, because he said 50% of his revenue came from the federal government. So he would sell, his honey to the government to then be given to programs like schools and, other programs. So that's 50% of his revenue. So because of efficiency within the government and Trump's mandate to cut when it comes to how the federal government operates, it's impacting him and his business. He didn't just talk about himself, but he also talked about farmers. And that's our next discussion. Our next discussion is the farmers and how they're impacted. But in this situation, he's a Trump supporter. He has a business. It looks like he has a successful business. He's buying a year worth of honey, honey jars for his business. So he obviously knows what he's doing when it comes to importing and manufacturing all that supply and stuff, right? But he's talking about how he's being negatively impacted because of all of the tariffs, as well as the DOGE efficiency program when it comes to cutting within the federal government, and how that impacts his business as well as other farmers.
From Jim's farm, we found other Trump supporters who give the president high marks on tariffs. How do you feel about the tariffs?
Well, I feel like for years we've been getting ripped off, and why not make it fair? 0-0. And I think Trump was upfront about it. He said we're going to hurt some now.
I think some of the countries they're already starting to come around. It's going to be good. I really believe that.
You have faith in Trump?
Yes, I do.
I think he's doing the right thing. In order for us to get back where we need to be, he needs to get the money somewhere, and they're charging us. Why not charge them?
So the sentiment with other supporters is, well, he's doing a great job, and then on the back end, on the front end is hard, it's difficult, right? But the back end, they're saying that it'll work out well. Trade across the world has been inconsistently against the United States when it comes to tariffs for almost 60 years, 50 to 60 years. Right. So other countries have hit us with tariffs for a long time. We, being the most, powerful economy in the world when it comes to, doing business, small business, buying, imports, exports, things like that. We have been getting hit for a long time, and the government hasn't done anything about it, for a lot of different reasons. Right. Trump came into office and said, listen, we're going to change all of this. Like, we're not doing this no more. I'm a businessman. Some people might not like the fact that I filed bankruptcy or whatever amount of times. I don't care. This is wrong, and we're going to change it. And if I need to fall down on the sword for it, he will. He will. And they're going to be paying for a little bit. We're going to have to feel the effects of it. Business owners, consumers, big business, it doesn't matter. Ultimately, everyone will feel the effects of it. And long term, hopefully, like the gentleman said, can we get to 0-0 when it comes to trade around the world? Can we get to 0 where there's no tariffs for nobody? No tariffs for nobody. I don't know. But that, in my opinion, and another opinion, like the gentleman said, is probably the goal here. But for you to do that, you got to shut it down. It's like when you got a bad foundation in the house, and the only way that you're going to rebuild that home is, in some cases, you're going to have to tear that junk down. You had to tear down the crib, and you're going to have to rebuild the foundation, because the foundation, this house has been getting, beat on and messed up over the last whatever amount of years when it came to the trade deficit, when it comes to how we go about just printing money. We're not on a gold standard no more, right? From a very long time ago. We just print money within the United States. We make it up, right? We just kind of just give it out. We some pieces of paper. And we've been doing this for a long time, and it's been causing so many issues and so many problems. And Trump's like, listen, enough's enough. Federal government cutting. We got too many. The government spends too much money, right? We're going to cut this. We're going to cut that. We're going to cut Department of Education. We're going to cut, different departments. We're going to make it smaller. We're going to make it more efficient. And ultimately, that's going to help us when it comes to our debt, our deficit, our trade deficit, as well as how we're going to then go about trading with these other countries. We no longer going to get hit when in countries. We're going to change how we do all of this. This is what he's trying to do. And there are a lot of people that don't like it, and there are some, as you can see, that do.
Back at Jim's farm, though, still plenty of worry. He says raw honey is considered a luxury good, similar to organic vegetables. As prices rise,
I don't know what that's going to do to consumer spending.
Trump paused the majority of the tariffs for 90 days after we'd left Jim's farm. Jim told us by phone, "It's flip-flopped so many times you can't take it to the bank. Who knows what it will be next week," adding, "It seems like he's heard the American people." Randy Kay, CNN, Linden, North Carolina.
All of this volatility and uncertainty brought on by the trade war that we were just talking about. You know, you've got China announcing it's raising retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 25%. That coming after President Trump hiked the rate of Chinese goods, the rate on Chinese goods coming into America from 104% now to 145%. All of that, creating so much uncertainty, is having a real and immediate impact on businesses, big and small, across the country. One small business owner joined us on the show just yesterday, describing how the daily chaos and the changes in policy have left her with no good options.
It's hard to make a decision. You know, we had an idea yesterday after the announcement of, well, maybe we can export to Australia, repackage the products, and then re-import them from there. But because policy changes every 36 hours or so, I don't want to make that decision and make that move only for something else to change in just a couple more days. I'm paralyzed. I can't even make a decision right now.
Paralyzed. Another big area of concern is what this means for American farmers. Of course.
And that's where we're going to go now. But before we get to the farmers, just think about what she just said. She said that we were going to repackage it in Australia and then import it from there. We just talked about in the first segment about how people are doing that. We're doing business with China are now making adjustments and going to other countries like Vietnam, Mexico, and in this situation, what the young lady said was Australia.